Good morning. It's time to start Granny Shares the Bible again, and I'm going to go back to chapter 13 of Mark. And the first verse we're going to do is verse 14. It says, "But when ye shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing where it ought not, let him that readeth understand, then let them that be in Judea flee to the mountains." So if we go back over here to Daniel chapter, let's look at Daniel chapter 9. Let me find it. Daniel chapter 9. It says it talks about the abomination of desolation. First of all, let's say what abomination of desolation means. Abomination means something that is hated, detested, abhorred. Abomination. In the Bible, when it talks about something is an abomination to the Lord, it's something he hates. And I'm going to tell you something about the abominations in the Old Testament. Things like witches, that kind of thing. Things like women wearing what pertains to a man. Those kind of things. When he speaks of them as abominations, it doesn't change. They are abominations to him. He doesn't want them. He doesn't want we know it's an abomination in this world now for a man to wear a woman's clothing. You know, it's an abomination. It's something not only God hates, but people hate too. They hate to see a man dressed up like a woman. But it's also been stated that it's an abomination for a woman to wear what pertains to a man. And that's going on all over the world, and nobody thinks anything about it. Oh my. Yes, but here's what an abomination is. It's something that's extremely hated, abhorred, or detested. So that's the first part of that phrase, abomination of desolation. The second part, desolation, means something that's ruined, wasted, ravaged, forsaken, destroyed, abandoned. So the abomination of desolation is something that's hated, and generally by God, and it is made desolate because of the hatedness of it. So when we talk about the abomination of desolation, let's go back and see what God said in the Old Testament in Daniel. He talked about, I'm going to start verse 24 because that really starts the idea of what the Lord's wanting to talk about. It says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to heal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. We're reading in Daniel chapter 9 and verse 24. Now we're on 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the Prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Okay, so here we hit the word desolation. Only it says unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Things are going to be ruined, destroyed, forsaken, ravaged, and wasted. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So here we're talking about a prince, the Messiah, the Prince, until to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, and it's a capital P. And that's talking about when Jesus came, and they're going to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the time that Jesus came, the Messiah, the Prince. It shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. So we know how that happened. We know when it happened. We know that they commanded to restore Jerusalem back in let's look at about it in Cyrus's time. Cyrus sent them back, and Cyrus was in the time of Daniel. In the time of Daniel, Cyrus was sent. But if we go into the books of let's look, Haggai and Zephaniah, Zechariah, we see that they prophesied during that time, BC 520. Haggai is prophesying, telling them to rebuild the temple. And Zechariah too was prophesying at that time. Let's see, his time was 519. So he was prophesying during that time. And that was the time that they had commanded to restore and rebuild Jerusalem. And he divided it up into 62, which is 69 weeks. 62 is 62 weeks and 7 weeks. I do not really know why it's divided like that, but I know the whole sum total is 69 weeks. So from 520, and weeks are weeks of years. So 69 times 7 years was how long it was from the rebuilding of Jerusalem until the Messiah came, our Messiah. And when he was cut off, after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. You know, he didn't die for himself. He died for us. Isn't it wonderful? And the people of the prince that shall come. Now that's the prince with a little p. And that's the Antichrist. That's the devil's man. That shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Okay, so 69 weeks is almost 70, right? 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, he said. So God had it planned out how it was going to work, and how it was going to work was 70 weeks were going to be what it took to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. All of that was going to come to pass in 70 weeks. This is what Daniel prophesied. And so when 69 weeks have been completed, then there's 1 week left. 1 week of years, so that's 7 years. And that's when he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And this is talking about him, the Antichrist, making a covenant with the Jews. And it says, and in the midst of the week, or that 3.5 years, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. So the Lord has caused the temple to be rebuilt. Yes, that's what the Jews know about this prophecy, that the temple will be rebuilt, and when it is rebuilt, they're going to start doing animal sacrifices again. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. So it's going to be a temple, but the devil's going to get in it. It's going to cause abominations to be done in that temple. And if you read in Revelation, you can read about some of that, about how he puts up his image in the temple, and people are commanded to worship that image. There's going to be a priest that's going to be it's going to be somebody that is of the devil too. So there's going to be so much that God hates in this temple that it will be called the abomination of desolation. That what's happening in this temple. And that's where Jesus said, he said, but when ye shall see the abomination of desolation, that's it. That's the what Daniel spoke about them building that temple, and there being sacrifices in it, but the Antichrist is going to cause things put in that temple that makes it desolate, makes God forsake it forever, forsake it and abandon it, and it'll be destroyed. It'll be ruined and wasted and ravaged because it's such an abomination to God. All right. And he said, but when you shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing where it ought not. Okay, now where it says standing where it ought not, you're going to see that in the book of Revelation that the devil is going to cause, the Antichrist is going to claim that he is God. We're going to go over to Revelation. It's going to claim that he is God. And when he claims that he is God, he is going to put an image up in the temple. And that image in the temple is going to, people are going to have to worship that image. And that is what will be called the abomination of desolation. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. And the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So he's going to put this beast, this image of the beast, in the temple. He said, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. So he puts this image in the temple, and that's what's called the abomination of desolation. And when the abomination of desolation is there, then he said, let him that readeth understand, then let them that be in Judea flee to the mountains. So Jesus is warning of what is going to happen, and it's still going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen. And when it does, he said, you flee to the mountains. If you're in Judea, go to the mountains. And let him that is on the housetop not go down into the house, neither enter therein to take anything out of his house. Don't go back, or you'll be caught, and you'll be slain. And let him that is in the field not turn back again for to take up his garment. See, the Jews have learned a lesson about worshiping an image. They have learned a lesson about worshiping idols. They had a problem in the Old Testament many times of turning to idols instead of God. For example, the golden calf in the wilderness. And they had problems with Molech, and even Solomon built temples to some of those false gods. So they had a problem, and finally God just took them out of the country, took them away from there, and took them to Babylon, and taught them a lesson about worshiping idols. And so when they see that image of the beast, that beast in the temple, and it's the image of the Antichrist, they're commanded to worship that beast, they won't do it. And that's why Jesus is saying, you flee to the mountains. You don't go back and take anything out of your house. You get out of there. Get out of Judea. Get out of Jerusalem. And let him that is in the field not turn back again for to take up his garment. Get out of there, and don't worry about taking anything with you, but just get out of there. But woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. And pray that your flight be not in the winter. For in those days shall be affliction such as was not from the beginning of the creation which God created unto this time, neither shall be. So, yes, we're talking about the tribulation. We're talking about that last 7 years of the Jews' history. Out of that 70 weeks, we're talking about that 1 week. And right at the end there, the Jews are going to be destroyed again like they were in the Holocaust. And he told them to get out of there and hide. And pray that your flight be not in the winter. Hope it's not when it's cold. And hope you don't have to carry a child with you, because it's going to be hard for you if you've got a child to carry too. He said, for in those days shall be affliction such as was not from the beginning of the creation, which God created unto this time, neither shall be. Now, we went through the book of Revelation and the awful things that's going to happen during that time of tribulation. And that is that 7 years. That is. And the worst time for the Jews is going to be that last 3.5 years when he puts that beast up in the temple and they won't worship him. They won't worship the beast. So he said, verse 20, and except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake whom he has chosen, he has shortened the days. Now, to talk about that shortening the days, he can make it less days, which would be shorten the days, the number of days. But he also could shorten each day. You know, just because we say a day has 24 hours, well, what's that based on? That's based on the earth turning from one point, like we're here in Highland City, from it turning on its axis toward the sun. Let's say it's right toward the sun, and it turns, and then it comes back where it's right toward the sun again. That takes 24 hours, just like that. That's a basis, okay? But if you really think about it, God being God, he can cause the earth to speed up. So the time is shortened. God can do anything. You know, Joshua, the sun stood still for him so he could defeat his enemies in the battle. So there's things that God can do. And he said, but for the elect's sake whom he hath chosen, he has shortened the days. Why? No flesh should be saved if he didn't do it. Except the Lord had shortened those days. No flesh should be saved. It's just too much evil going on in the world. Too much destruction. Too much desolation. Too many abominations. So we're going to stop right there, and I'll get back on it on chapter 21 tomorrow or Monday. And, you know, we're living in the last days. And if you're not ready to meet the Lord, it's time to get ready. Because he is coming. And when he comes, when the rapture happens, I know people don't want to say the word rapture because it's not in the Bible. But it's the complete, wonderful word for Jesus coming in the clouds. For him coming for his bride. It's going to be rapture. That means great joy. And it also means catching up. He's going to catch us up with him. So there's the rapture, and it's coming. It could be today. So get ready for the rapture, and then you're not here in this earth on these horrible 7 years that follow it. God bless you, and I'll see you Monday, Lord willing.